Now, Avengers 4 might well be the most talked about movie of all time after the events of Infinity War. We all saw the snap, but none of us believed it. And right now, with outside pressures such as James Gunn's Guardian film experiencing difficulties and big acting names saying they want to step away from their roles, there's never been a more uncertain time about what's going to happen to the MCU. However, while the rumour mill has been sent into meltdown with speculations and predictions, there are a fair few theories that we can actually shut down right now, even this far away from release. So what I'm going to do today is help sift through the suspect suggestions and snap a few of these for us today. And if I'm wrong, then just slap me in the face and call me a plum duff. But if I'm right, then I've just saved you some stress. You're welcome. With this in mind, I'm Jules, this is What Culture, and these are 10 Avengers 4 rumours we just know are bull. And speaking of bullshit, why don't you head over to shop.whatculture.com where you can check out my lovely one per list t-shirts and my having a giraffe ones as well, the cheeky little whipper that I am, getting over 2 gimmicks. What am I like? Yeah, they're probably on sale as well because it's near Christmas. Number 10, Loki didn't die. According to rumours, rather than being killed at the hands of Thanos in the explosive opening of Avengers Infinity War, this theory suggests that Loki pulled another trick and survived. Now, this type of theory is particularly outlandish, seeing as Thanos specifically mentioned it being real, but let's just follow that train of thought. The evidence, as it were, here is based on the precedent that he had faking his own death before, and on the strange behaviour of Bruce Banner, whose reluctance to Hulk out was suggested as a symptom of Loki pretending to be him. Sadly, there's no way this is true. Loki died, I'm afraid. Sure, he is getting his own series, but there's no way that it'll be anything other than a prequel or something set in a changed timeline. His death was an important statement of Thanos' power, and making it feel like a fake-out would undermine the most legitimate threat this movie franchise has ever seen. Number 9. Thanos regrets his actions and undoes them himself. For some reason, there's a school of thought that Thanos might take a lead from Inception and worry about becoming an old man filled with regret, which will lead him to undo all of the actions he did with his sausage fingers. It's a romantic idea, and it might fit that Thanos would be so torn up about having to kill Gamora that he'd change his mind, so you can see why it's been tossed around a bit. But romance aside, having Thanos simply turn his back on his ideology makes no sense. His whole gimmick is that he's so determined to save the universe from itself, but also that he's a stubborn, egocentric maniac with a messiah complex. Who else does that remind you of, eh? Everything we've been told about him flies in the face of this concept that he'd actually feel sorry for his actions and look to undo them. Also, it would kind of make the heroes feel very redundant if the only thing that could save them was their own enemy. Number 8. Adam Warlock will appear. Because of his importance to the Infinity Saga comics, Adam Warlock has been rumoured for the Infinity War movies ever since they were announced. In fact, he's been rumoured for an MCU appearance even longer than that, with it widely expected that he would become either a Phase 3 or 4 fixture, eventually getting his own sub-series. And especially in the comics, he's instrumental in the fight against Thanos, which has led many fans to argue that he must have some part to play in the downfall of the Mad Titan. In reality, Adam Warlock will be appearing, assuming the original plans for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 are stuck to, in Phase 4, but not in Avengers 4. He's being set up as a secondary villain in Guardians Volume 3, which comes after Avengers 4. So the idea that he briefly turn up for a heroic turn before that makes absolutely zero sense. Which sucks, but hey, we're only going on what we're told. Number 7. Thane will save the day. So this theory is that after most of his family were air quotes dealt with one way or another in Avengers Infinity War, Thanos' long-lost son Thane will turn up just as he did in the comics and be the one to defeat his father. The rumor suggests that he'd be a secret even to Thanos as he was in the origin story, and that it would fit that he'd be killed or defeated by his offspring given his obsession with building a family and the contradiction in the way that he treats them. However, come on, how cheap would this actually feel if it actually happened, especially seeing as we already have Nebula literally spoiling for revenge. Fingers crossed that this doesn't happen and we get to see the family conflict resolved in a manner that's more focused and less Jeremy Kyle. Number 6. Tony becomes the Sorcerer Supreme. Now this is a very interesting one, seeing as there seemed to be a set photo of Tony wearing Doctor Strange's cloak, which suggests that Stark will become the new Sorcerer Supreme, or at least just for a little bit. After all, the title has been vacated and there's no one on Earth really showcasing any of the required skill set. Well, I mean, your mum has a huge wizard's sleeve, but that's a very different type of sawing in half, if you know what I mean. There's my one per list. So why not have another sarcastic, wealthy man with questionable facial hair take the robed role? Well, that all falls apart when you hear rumours from the set which state that he was just goofing around in it. Also, if there's going to be a stand-in Sorcerer Supreme, it's most definitely got to be Wong, assuming that he's actually alive. On top of that, there's the small fact that the cloak actually disintegrated with Strange when Thanos snapped his fingers, so therefore there's literally nothing for Tony to wear as the Sorcerer Supreme, so the scene cannot exist. Curse you, logic and reasoning! Number 5. There's another new stone. The question of how Thanos can be defeated when he's in possession of the most powerful artifact in the universe is a pretty pressing one, and it's inspired lots of theorizing and rumor-mongering. One such rumor suggests that the only way the Avengers can possibly hope to defeat him is to use a 7th Infinity Stone, like the Ego Stone from the comics, which would be more powerful than all of the other ones combined, a sort of one ring to rule them all style deal. And it's this quest that's going to be the backbone of Avengers 4, them looking for that lost stone. This does miss the point that it's unlikely that the Russos would make a 2-part film in which the second part made the first one entirely redundant with such little effort. Revealing that the most powerful weapon in the universe effectively had a kill switch out of nowhere wouldn't be a good thing for fans, and you'd hope that the directors would know this much. Number 4. XANDAR'S destruction will happen in Flashback. Since Infinity War missed out the key event of XANDAR'S decimation, well, apart from Thanos mentioning it, it's being assumed that we're going to get a flashback sequence in Avengers 4 explicitly showing Thanos picking up the Power Stone and destroying the Nova core. That would mean that we'd be likely to see the debut of Nova, who has been long rumoured to be one of Marvel's new intended characters for Phase 4. Now, we may well get to see Nova at some point, but there's no way we're going to see the decimation of XANDAR in Avengers 4. If we see it, it will be in the opening sequence of a standalone Nova movie. To retread that ground in Avengers 4 wouldn't do it the justice it deserved, and let's face it, there's already so much story going through that it would be a misuse of screen time. Better to leave it to be explored in another story, right? Number 3. The X-Men will appear. Now, this is something I so want to happen, and because Fox and Disney are now in the process of a deal that will return the film rights of Fox's Marvel characters to Marvel, there have been a lot of hot takes on how we'll get to see the Fantastic Four and the X-Men brought to the MCU. And because Avengers 4 will apparently include time travel and dimension hopping, it's been suggested that we might get to see the X-Men and mutants in general brought in this way. They could even show mutants emerging as a side effect of the Reality Stone, with dimensions being merged together to create a new timeline. Whatever the course though, it's been believed that we'll see all of these evolutionary Mad Hatters in Avengers 4. However, we hit a road bump immediately with the little fact that Marvel still doesn't yet own the cinematic rights to the X-Men. True, they are in the process of making it happen, but it's a lengthy process, and even with some sort of allowance to borrow their own characters ahead of the agreement, there's no way that Fox would agree that if there was even a whiff of the deal not going through, which there always is until the ink is on the paper. It's a lovely idea to think that we'll see the X-Men born out of Avengers 4's ending, but they need a sensible, measured approach to such a moment, and tacking them on at the end of another story might not be the best way to do this. Number 2. Silver Surfer will play a key role. The Silver Surfer is another iconic Marvel character who was a major part of the Infinity Saga in the comics, so he's been rumoured to appear in the films for quite a while now. That rumour was fueled even more when it turned out that Metacritic had posted a cast list for Infinity War featuring Silver Surfer. At that point, it was basically just accepted that he was coming. Sadly, no matter how hard you wish it, the Fox-Disney deal hasn't closed in time for anything to happen in Avengers 4. Character rights are just not a simple thing to negotiate, even when there is an express intent to sell a company and its assets. And to be fair, you can't just trample on the usual logistic requirements because the fans really want it to happen. Also, if we're being brutally honest, there's no need for Silver Surfer at this point apart from maybe a Stinger cameo. I mean, you could herald the coming of Galactus, but in all honesty, it looks like Phase 4 is going all in on Secret Invasion, or at least a variation of that, so Galactus would be jumping the shark at this point in time. And number 1, everyone stays dead, or at least some people do anyway. Since Infinity War's ending was revealed, the Russos and the writing team have very much stressed that what's done is done, and there is a finality to that. In other words, what's dead is dead, and there won't be a coming back from that. Even with that confirmed as impossible, the filmmakers have gone to very serious lengths to assure us that stakes are very real and there will be some major long-lasting consequences of that snap. Basically, some of the dead might not make it back. Except we already know that Spider-Man, Doctor Strange and Black Panther movies are coming, that Scarlet Witch and Vision have a TV show which can't be anything other than a sequel, and that Bucky and Falcon also do. Again, it can't be a prequel. So that leaves very few people to actually stay dead. Plus, how could the unsnap, whatever form it takes, only be partially successful? So yeah, thanks for the lies, Russo and company, but we're seeing right through you like, I don't know, partially transparent man. He probably won't get his own solo movie.